Hey there, welcome back to my channel. How's it going? And before getting started, I would like to show you a quick demo of the project that we're going to build in this episode. So here's our YouTube bot. When we click on the command start, we can see the reply keyboard with messages hello, help, and the counter button. If you click on the help, you can see the help menu. We can click on the start command and it will send the start message again with the start keyboard. If you click hello, you can see the hello there button. And if you try to click on the counter button, there is a simple counter application. And you can decrement or increment this value by using different buttons here, and that will increment the value and showing you the loading state. And here how it works. So that's pretty simple. That's pretty basic setup, pretty basic bot that we are going to build today. And we're going to be discussing the reply and inline keyboards, the differences and similarities between them, and how they work and how they help us organize a complex workflows and how we can potentially make use of them. And before we get started, here's just a quick reminder. We have our Discord community for our channel. So if you get stuck, want to show off your new bot, or if you'd like a quick code review, feel free to join and hang out with us. I also share some channel-related updates and tech news there. It is pretty small, but I'm working on growing it. All right, so let's move on to our next slide. So there are two main types of keyboards in Aiogram library. The first one is reply keyboards, and the second one is inline. Reply keyboards replaces the user system keyboards. They look pretty similar. Their main purpose is to send predefined text commands or share special data, like a location or a phone number. In contrast, inline keyboards, on the other hand, are attached directly to a specific message. They're usually used for settings, opening URLs, or triggering dynamic actions without spamming the chat with lots of extra messages. So how does a reply keyboard actually work? You can think of it as a template for a text message. When the user clicks a button on the reply keyboard, their client simply sends the exact text to your chat. From the bot's perspective, it just receives a regular text message. With the reply keyboards, you can also request different kinds of data. For example, you can ask the user to share their phone number, their GPS location, and so on. You can also create dynamic layouts, resize the keyboard, and tweak a lot of options. I'm going to cover those more advanced tricks in future videos. Today, we'll keep it simple and focus on basic setup. And here on the slide, you can see a code snippet that shows how to build these keyboards. There are two main approaches. You can use a builder class and configure keyboards step by step, or you can just create a reply keyboard object directly, which is exactly what we're going to do in this episode. But here in the code snippet, you can see the builder class being used. I don't want to overcomplicate the things right now, but you're free to experiment with the builder approach on your own if you wish to. There's no much difference between them. It's more a matter of convenience and consistency. Now let's talk about inline keyboards. Inline keyboards live inside the chat history. They are attached to specific messages, and they allow user to interact with your bot without sending any visible text messages. When the user clicks an inline button, a few different things can actually happen. First of all, a web application can be opened. Second off, the user can be redirected to a URL opened in his browser or embedded Telegram browser, or the bot can receive a callback request with a specific hidden data. And this hidden part is called callback data. Callback data is a small string that you attach to each inline button. The user never sees that. But when you click a button, Telegram sends the string back to your bot in a callback query. Inside that string, you can encode anything you want. IDs, action types, product codes, or any other information that helps you understand what exactly the user clicked. In other words, the label on the button is for the user and the callback data behind it for your bot's logic. It is much easier to understand all of this in practice, so don't worry if it still feels a bit abstract. We'll see real examples in the code in just a minute. On the slide, you can also see an example how to define an inline keyboard. The same story here. You can either use a builder or you can create an inline keyboard object directly. Both approaches are valid. The builder style is slightly more common and gives you a bit more structure and consistency, but at the end of the day, it mostly comes down to what you are comfortable with. And here's the explanation of what is the callback data. So basically, callback data is the data that your bot receives when it receives the callback query object, not the message. So it's a different type of update that you receive from Telegram API. And this is the thing that we're going to discuss in more details in our future episodes. To put it bluntly, this is just the data that you attach to a specific button. For example, the product ID. All right, so here's a quick comparison summary between the reply keyboard and inline keyboard. First of all, reply keyboards appear at the bottom of the screen in the input area. They send regular text messages. They stay invisible until you explicitly remove them. And they work great for things like a main menu or quickly asking for a phone number or GPS location or something else. Inline keyboards are attached to a specific message. They fit nicely into the chat history. They can be more dynamic and are perfect for things like item lists, actions, confirmation dialogues, model windows, opening URLs, web applications, and handling callbacks through callback data. And if you have any questions in regards to keyboards, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the implementation. All right, I'm in Visual Studio Code. And here's just a quick mention of the things that I'm going to do in this episode. We're going to create a new file, which is going to be called keyboards.py. In this file, we're going to place our keyboards, and then we need to attach those keyboards to the specific handlers. All right, so I just created two keyboards. The first one is the object of ReplyKeyboardMarkup, and the second one is the function to return the inline keyboard. So it creates the inline keyboard markup, adds necessary buttons here, and returns its object. Please pay attention that I have used getVerb here, which points that this function returns a specific object. It is useful to keep the things consistent, and for the functions, I often add the verb get here. Now, moving to the handlers file, we have two basic handlers, and the first thing I'm going to do is just refactor our existing handlers a little bit. Now, if you take a look, we can see that I have used the text button here, which is called help. If we try setting this text help, this is not going to trigger the command help. This handler doesn't actually handle the text help. It only handles the command help. And to make this work, we have to add the magic filter. And here's how I'm going to handle this. I will basically filter out not only the command help, but also the text help. This will ensure that all messages, which looks like a command help and the text help, will be handled by this message handler. I also renamed those handlers to use a new name convention. This is just a prefix which specifies that this handler should be command handler. And so I just copy-pasted the following code snippets here, and let's walk through them. So the first handler just handles the message hello, which we have added to this keyboard button. It answers with hello there. The second handler will handle the text counter that we have added to the keyboard button counter. The third handler will actually handle the callback queries. If you take a closer look at our command counter handler, it replies with a reply markup, which is our getCounter keyboard. This function returns the object of our inline keyboard. That means when you get this message, an inline keyboard will be attached to this. And this inline keyboard consists of two main buttons, plus button and minus button. Whenever you click the minus button, it will send the callback query request to our bot. This callback query request, this is not the message update. This is something that contains the hidden information, and this hidden information is encapsulated in this callback data. So this update will include decrement. That being said, our bot will understand which button was clicked, whether it is decrement or increment. So if our data is increment or decrement, in this case, this handler will be triggered. And this is ensured by using magic filter with the attribute data in the increment or decrement. In other words, when our callback query update contains the information such as increment or decrement, this kind of handler will be triggered. Then all we have to do is just access message of this callback query and its text. And this is essentially the message that you have replied to the user. As you can see the counter, we split this message and extract this 0, and we access this 0 by using array, because this method returns an array. And then if our callback data is increment, that being said the user clicked the plus button, we just increase the current value, which is this 0 initially, and then we access the method addedText. addedText basically edits the text of the message to which this inline keyboard is attached. In this case, counter 0. It edits this message with an updated value. In this case, it is 1. Because we incremented this value by 1. And then we have the value 1 here. And the next time the user clicks on this button, it will send this callback data again. This handler is being triggered. It finds the value of the counter in the same manner it did before, increments or decrements its current value, and then it just updates the text message. So this is the way to store the value of the counter. In this particular case, we just store it text message. And this is the important part. We must answer the callback query to stop the loading animation in the client. If you notice in the Telegram, there is a loading label at the top of the chat whenever you send a callback query. And if you never invoke the callback answer, this loading state will be quite long. So in order to stop it and say Telegram API, hey, we have just handled your request. We have just processed that. So don't worry, this callback message has been successfully processed. Here's the answer. So even if we don't want to do anything, we should still answer it. And now let's try to test this out. I'm going to start this pod, and we can see there is a keyboard with the following messages help. If you click on help, we can see there is a help command. Hello will reply with a hello there. And if we try to click on counter, we can see the counter. And if we try to increment this value, it is incrementing. All right, so that's it for today's video. I really hope you found this video helpful. And if you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to stay updated. Also keep in mind that we have our Discord community, so feel free to join us. And thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye.